Oh, hello there. Welcome back to Dicebreaker, where we are going to be painting a giant dragon that I worked on yesterday. Not yesterday, sorry, last week. And finishing him off. I have been working on him at home, getting him up to sort of where we are right now. If you joined the stream last week, you should have seen all of the progress of all of this orange contrast paint, or speed paint rather, because it's Army Painter. We also did all of these sort of undersides of the wings and on the belly and all that kind of thing. And today, after doing some work at home on it, so doing like these little grey detailings, for example, on the arm and on the spine here, I've also done some of this bone and done a few washes and things like that. I've painted the face, which you should be able to see there. After doing all that, we're going to be finishing this bad boy off and getting him completely table ready. And if we've got time, I might do the base as well, which is quite fun. Although I have forgotten to bring the PVA glue in, but I can go get that if we do need it. So that's fine. I hope everyone's doing all right. How's it going? I haven't done one of these streams on my own in a little while. But it is nice to do a solo stream every now and again, because I can just sort of whittle away at something without anyone telling me silly things. I can just be my own dude, you know? Say my own stupid crap. I've got a lot of people with very dirty minds talking about the perfectly normal title of this stream, telling me that there's something wrong with it. I don't know what they're talking about. There was definitely no thoughts about that when I was starting the stream myself. But a big hello to everyone in the chat. We've got Jam, we've got Alex Simpkin, we've got Mojo Jojo, Wayhan Lim, Fell, our lovely mod, we've got IO Netrunner, we've got Nathaniel Levy, we've got Hermit Prime, Helix Angel, Irayan. How are you all doing? It's good to see you. Hermit Prime says that was my favourite opening for a stream ever. What a start. What a start. Get in, lads. Right, I'm going to take a little sip of water. I've set things up a little bit differently today. Let me know what the audio's like, all of that kind of stuff. I've got an... oh, pardon me. Oh, I went down the wrong hole. I've got an actual microphone this time rather than a clip-on, which I don't think it really takes that much from the shot, and I can go real nice and close, do some ASMR as well, which is fun. Right, so what I'm going to be doing is, first of all, getting some brushes out. Is Matt done with his tank, says Jan? I'm not actually sure, but unfortunately he's a bit sick today. He's off work, so if you can send all of your best wishes to our fearless boy at home, in bed, hopefully getting better. I'm going to grab a sort of medium-sized brush here. Another thing, by the way, if you're enjoying this setup, I actually very recently did a painting tutorial for the channel, which should be going up this weekend. I filmed it the other day. I'm hoping that there's nothing wrong with it, and if there isn't, then it's going to be going up this weekend. But, you know, sales law, whenever I say, oh, it'll be going up this weekend, then inevitably something goes wrong. So just, you know, prefacing that right now, right here. So yeah, if you are new to painting, if you've never really done it before and you're looking for a more comprehensive tutorial than the sort of like tips and tricks that we do on the stream, keep an eye out for that on the channel this weekend. But to start things off, I'm going to grab a wash. I've got like a sort of purpley brown wash that I'm going to be putting over some of the scales. Because I want to try and get a little bit more depth to some of the areas on, especially on like the leg, stuff like that. So you see here it's quite flat. Just turn that light down a little bit because it's a tiny bit bright. You see here it's quite flat at the moment. It's got a bit of detailing, but not a ridiculous amount. I've also got to paint the fur on this leg because I've gone for a sort of grey fur. I think just the hind legs is the only place where I haven't actually done that colour yet. So we're going to start off with a bit of washing. Grab some kitchen roll. How's everyone doing today? It is important to wash your massive dragon. These boys do get dirty, let me tell you. Dragons, they get filthy dirty if you don't look after them. So I'm going to make sure, stuff it, I'm going to make sure to give them a nice wash. And by wash, I mean I'm going to put dirty looking paint water all over them because it makes them look nice. So let's start with that. We're going to go up on the hind leg here. I'm just going to grab some of these scales. I'm hoping that this is kind of like an Agrax, but it's a little bit more purpley. So I'm hoping it doesn't take out too much of the detail on the orange. So I don't want to muddy the colour too much. So I feel like a pure Agrax Earthshade would really really end up being super dirty and washed out. So I'm hoping this should be a little bit lighter. Let it get a little bit brighter around the chest. Just going to get this little sort of joint here. And that immediately is just sort of picking out some of those scales, which is kind of what I'm after. What is everyone working on today? Let me know, by the way. If you want to show me what you're up to, you can use the hashtag Dicepainter, all one word, on Twitter. You can also tag us on things like Instagram. It'd be lovely to see what everyone is up to today. And let me know how your day's going. Just bringing this wash down the foot. I recently, and I reached out to them to see if they were interested in doing some kind of collaboration at all. I've been watching some of the videos from, they are brush makers, but they have a YouTube channel as well. They're called Artis Opus. And they do these like true dry brushing techniques, which are really cool. Because the only dry brushing I know is the sort of like bastardized one that we do in mini painting, which is not quite the exact technique that the word means. It's dry brushing, like, contrary to what you might think from the name, the brush is actually meant to be a little bit wet, so they have like these super like compacted. I was showing Zoe and she said they're very similar to like a style of makeup brush as well. They have these like really compacted like round brushes that have like just a really good sort of shape for things like stippling. But then they also work in that style that we know of, just sort of like grabbing those edges and things like that, just in a slightly different way. But they look really cool, and I would love to try some. But they are like 80 quid. So, it'd be nice if we could do it as part of the channel, but if not, I might have to save up and get them at a later date. Oh, by the way. Oh, pollen. There's a lot of pollen today. So if you hear me sneezing, that is why. Oh god, I get really bad hay fever. I'm thinking about like going to a GP and asking for some really strong stuff, because the amount that I sneeze, it's like genuinely sometimes quite intrusive. Like especially if I'm driving or something, it's real bad if I get into a sneezing fit, because like I can't see. So you know, famously, quite important to be able to see when driving. A lot of people sing the praises of having vision when you're driving a metal speed box that can explode. Let's see what's up in the chat. Roxy9 says, oh hey, just dropping in for a little oasis of calm while everything else is on fire. Look, Boris Johnson's getting deleted from existence, hopefully, so at least something's going right. Alex Simpson says, painting some custom Oxventure minis, currently working on Egbert, nice. Mojo says, I finally caught the plague and joined the zombie horde. Oh god, that's not good. Hewley says, I can't show off the piece I just finished as it's for an event and won't be revealed until September, but taking a break from my other piece and doing some silly stuff that I can show. Lovely. I'll tell you what, I will get the Dicepainter hashtag up so I can keep an eye on it, so if anyone wants to show me some stuff, pop it in there. Let's see what else is in there. Yeah, that's all last week's. Okay. Herman Prime says, I'm preparing to GM for my first Blades game, so I'm making the maps at the moment. Excellent. Do you know what your players are going to be? What crew they're going for? And all that kind of stuff? Let me know if you want any tips. Because I'm a big fan of Blades in the Dark, as I've made very aware on this channel before. Big fan of Blades in the Dark. Even as much of a fan as our ex-head of video, Johnny Chiodini, I believe. They brought me in, converted me fully. No one preaches like the converted. So I'm going up against the wings now as well, because these are just speed paint, I think. There's not much else on there. There's also a bit of a squeak on the table, sorry if everyone can hear that. So I'm going to try and give these a little bit more depth. Hello, Angel Beat, how you doing? Another one of our lovely mods. For anyone who has just joined in. What am I doing today? But I'm painting a big old dragon that I started working on last week. And I'm trying to get it sort of finished this week. So I'm going to be doing a lot of finishing touches. Hopefully doing a little bit of basing as well, which should be fun. If so, I will need to get some PVA glue. But we can do that when it comes to it. Cross that bridge when we get there. Tom Mortshire Smith says, "Oh, like in the lighting wheels, still not convinced by the wingspan on the shelf." Tom, why do you hate it so much? Like, what? I would love to know, like, what got you so irked when you played that game? Because, like, you know, I don't think it's the best game ever made, but I like it, you know. But I also, I didn't think it was so controversial, you know. It seems like such a standard thing, you know. I'm surprised by the animosity you have towards it. And that's coming from me, Mr. Animosity. My new nickname, by the way. Looking forward to hearing you all using it. There we go. That's nice. It's getting a little bit more. You can see, so in comparison, this is just flat paint, this wing. Then round here, that's where the detail is all being picked up by that wash. Oh, we do love a good wash. The make look good water. Tom Walsh Smith says, "I don't hate it, I just don't like it." Everyone says they're new as well, so shadows to begin with, but any advice would be welcome. I will say that I tend to find people are sort of confused by blades when they first play, because they're not used to having that much control over what happens during their play sessions. Because for those who haven't played Blades in the Dark, it's not really up to the GM what the players do. It's like they pick their jobs, they go out and do them. They're just kind of filling in the gaps. So I think one thing that, and this GM's running this issue as well, I'm sure, when running the game, they're like, oh, I can't, you know, build my little module or whatever, or grab one off the shelf and whatever it is, and then have it all pre-planned, because, you know, it takes that level of like, oh, your players will do what they want to a new degree, because, you know, now instead of your players sort of selecting what they do in the little world you've created, it's more the fact that they'll select everything that happens, and you're kind of playing to their whims. Sort of reverses that relationship between the player and the GM. And that can be really confusing for a lot of people. I find having like really good breadcrumbs, you know, like stuff that you almost have to like incept in their minds, so it feels like they're making cool decisions, when in actual fact you've got like, you know, a few things that you've hinted at, and they'll be like, ooh, I like the sound of that. I can't remember if this is part of the book or if it was just something that we ended up doing, but when I was running Blades, I would have, you know, like news stories essentially, whether that was through like rumors that you'd heard or like public knowledge or whatever. Hold on. Ooh. Look forward to that for this whole stream. Me almost sneezing, and then me sneezing 8 times out of nowhere. But yeah, having that sort of like you know, weekly news bulletin or whatever in between sessions that you would write is a nice way of sort of like imprinting what, you know, your mark on the world, without hindering them from just doing what they want to do. And then sometimes as well, if they're not really sure what they're supposed to be doing, which I think is the more common thing, where it's like, oh crap, like I'm not used to this idea of like us just picking what we do rather than having a sort of like, you know, here is the next mission that we're going to be working on as delivered by the GM. Having that sort of breadcrumb trail for players to pick around in and be like, oh, okay, I'm not as fussed about the idea of this, I don't know, gang war that's happening, but that mysterious stranger who turned up on a boat that everyone's talking about sounds really interesting. Let's do something around that. You know, it's like a nice way of guiding them to the fun without forcing them there, if that makes sense. Okay. God, this is a big wing. It's a big wing on a massive dragon. Trying not to load it too much with wash, because I feel like if I put too much on, it's going to lose all of that lovely orange sort of brilliance that it's got, because the colour is delightful that the speed paint has left from the initial pass on the wing, so I don't want to cover it up, I just want to add some depth to it. There we go. Delightful. I might go over that with some more orange at some point just to bring back some of the vibrance, because whenever you do any kind of wash, you do lose some of your saturation. Like, it does become a little bit more muted and desaturated just from the fact that it's been, you know, it's been washed with dirty water essentially. So it's never going to be quite as bright and colourful as it was. But you can always just go back in and re-add that colour after the fact, you know. Just making sure there's not too much on any of them. Right, we'll go on to the other wing. Angel Beat says, I think I have blades thanks to one of the big itch bundles. Gonna have to read through it. Yeah, blades should have been on... Oh, God, my neck. Oh, I hope you all enjoyed that. It should have been on that bundle for... or against, rather, racial inequality. A little while ago during the Black Lives Matter movement. Or the start of it, anyway. The protests. So that may be where you have a copy of it. And if you bought that bundle, you didn't realise, there should be a copy of Blades in the Dark in your itch account. And it's very good. But obviously go out and support creators, you know. Those bundles are lovely, but if you've got the money to give them support outside of that, then please do. Okay, coming in on the other wing now. This one's a lot more manageable because he's got it all cramped up. Like an unfurled umbrella on the left side and the opposite on the right. Is that the right word? Do you unfurl an umbrella? Let me know in the comments. I would like a show of hands, by the way. Who amongst you came in to this stream of ours just because of the perfectly normal name that I picked, and who's just here for the painting? I like to see the reprobates amongst you. Roxanine says, good lord, is your head going to fall off? That was a Death Becomes Her level noise. That was not even a very big click for me, I'll be honest. My spine is absolutely tattered. I make those kind of noises like 3 times a day, just kind of readjusting my my neck and back, which isn't great, but you know, we move. Everybody in the chat who's got back issues say yeah. Alright, finally just going to come over onto this side now. See some of these muscles. This sort of arm under the wing. It's a very normal name, David. Very, very normal. No implications. No innuendos. And anything that people derive from that name is of their own making and has nothing to do with me. So just know that you're the one to blame here if you see anything other than a nice normal stream title for normal people. Local stream for local people. There we go. I've also, by the way, I feel like I do this all the time. I've like tried to pick my own colour scheme for this and accidentally kind of painted exactly how he looks on the box, but like some slight variations. So I'm always that guy who's like, no, I want to do my own colour scheme. So I'm glad that I didn't learn that that's how he officially looks until I had already started painting him. Because otherwise I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do orange, because orange is what they have on the box and I want to be different. Roxy9 says, I'm easily swayed by massive dragons, it's true. Healy says, I mean, to be fair, I'm going to show up because it's a painting stream. I just also happen to have certain proclivities when it comes to dragon and art. David Gallant says, Lumbar Problems Club, Angel Beat with the woo, back issues. I did get a foam roller, Mojo Jojo. I tend to find that, like, a lot of the time, like, I want my back to click, whereas a foam roller just sort of pushes the muscles apart, which is good for them. But, like, it doesn't make my brain think it's better, if that makes sense. It doesn't give me the good chemicals. Tricky bit now, it's got to get in on this leg. It's a big, complicated model, which means there's going to be loads of little areas that are hard to reach. A pain in the butt. I think we're okay. Go down on this foot. There's just so much to wash. Such a big, grubby boy. Needs a bath. There we go. We're getting there. Also, I said on the previous stream that I might do the terrain in a different colour, but actually, like, looking at it, now that I've got him sort of fully painted up, I think it actually looks really nice to have him on like a sort of dusty, deserty base, so I'm going to go with that kind of vibe. And use that same colour. I think this is Sand Golem speed paint that I've got there. I think it looks really nice. A little bit more on this side maybe. A little bit more depth and detail. Never hurts, does it? Just on the neck. There we go. There we go. Takes a wash like no problem. No problem at all. It's a great dragon right there. Alright, looking good. Here we are then after a wash. Already, look at those wings. So much more depth. So much more detail in them. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's looking good. He's looking fine. Wondering if similar wash underneath the wings is necessary. Roxy9 says give it a little cowboy hat, but that's not on the box. No, I bet it isn't. And you know what? It should have been. Because that's a fantastic idea. Thank you, Roxy. The title reminds me of that Mitchell & Webb sketch with the massive yacht salesman. I don't remember that one. I've watched a lot of Mitchell & Webb. Oh, yes. No, I do. Sorry. The weirdest things happen. Our millionth customer didn't click on the link that said he's won a massive yacht. That is a funny sketch. My bad. I know exactly what you're talking about. It took me about 10 seconds of thought, I think. Which is quite big for me. Right. Yeah, so Christopher Steves, I was talking with Mean about this because the original dragon on the box is called Krondys. And Alex Mean has affectionately named him Handsome Dragon. To which I say, oh God. To which I say, I haven't plugged in one of the cameras, so give me a second to make sure that doesn't die. But if you can hear me in the background, I think he does look too uppity. He looks a bit too pretty, you know? He's got little bits of jewellery on and stuff. You know, I just think he's a bit full of himself. Whereas, you know, this bad boy dragon that we've got here, you know, he's got a little something to him, you know? He's stylish, he's sexy. I don't know if you can hear me throughout that whole rant. Oh, that's better. We're not going to lose the camera halfway through the stream now. Yeah, I just, I prefer the vibe of this guy, you know? He's got a little bit more to him. I don't like it when they try and shove stuff on top of a dragon, you know? Like it's already a dragon. It speaks for itself. It doesn't need like van braces and stuff. You know, it's a dragon. Plus, I haven't really painted a dragon before, to be honest. So I want just, you know, a nice classic looking dragon. These dragons are clearly dating Cecilia. It's always the way, isn't it? One is a handsome dragon who looks very pretty and wears jewellery. The other is a bad boy, scarred. They're dating. There we go. Right. That's enough of that wash. I'm now going to grab some sort of bone white. I'm going to add some detail to the sort of spine. Giving it a nice little shake. You know, army painters sell ball bearings that you can put in your paint. Like, some of their paints don't have ball bearings in them, but you can buy ball bearings to put in them. Which is a little strange. Right. Grab some skeleton bone in the army painter line. Let's start working on these. So I'm going to grab like just a bit of a highlight around the edges of this. Because it's gotten a little bit dirty. Just want like a highlight to give it a bit of a pattern. So I'm not actually painting the whole chunk of each bit of the spine. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that because it's so fine detail. But I'm just sort of going along the line with a nice thin paint and then sort of feathering along the bottom to get like a nice sort of natural effect going on, which I'm hoping will look really good, but we'll see. Because sometimes you do something thinking it's a great idea and it comes out crap. There's only one way of finding out. Grab some of that. Just spill onto the grate. Mary R says, it reminds me of that Katakan in the Witcher 3 obsessed with putting on jewellery. Gale, I believe his name was. I don't remember that bit. I remember the big like hobgoblin-y looking demon thing that pretended to be a god by like speaking through a like drainage pipe or something at some stupid locals, which was very funny. I will say some of the quests in Witcher 3 are some of the best I've ever played. Like the what's it called? The first DLC, the Hearts of Stone DLC, is absolutely fantastic. Incredible writing. Because it's essentially Dr. Faustus. Oh, this actually looks really nice. Basically just going to be doing the same pattern on the other side now. I've got it pressed against the table because I need like a really steady hand for this. There we go. Is that visible on camera? Can you see the sort of highlight I've given onto the little bits of bone on the back? No idea if you guys can tell what I'm doing right now. This is the only problem with doing fine details, is like, you know, how fine can you go before people don't even know what's happening? Try and zoom that in a little bit. You see that? See that? But like if you look at the other side, you can see the flat version. And then look at this side. See that nice highlight? See the difference? Flat, highlight. Flat, highlight. Let's do that on the other side. That was your last chance to see what I'm doing. Can I please have everyone in the chat who watches TikTok very, very regularly raise their hand, please? Just give me a little shout, just so I know you're there. Because I'd like to play a game of which TikTok noise do you have stuck in your head right now? Mainly so I can tell you which one I have in my head. Because it's becoming a problem. There's this like remix of like a scene from Stranger Things, I think. A show which I have not watched since the first season. And it's like, Chrissy, wake up. I don't like this. Chrissy, wake up. And I have no real context for what is happening in that scene, apart from this guy is obviously worried about a young woman called Chrissy. That's all I've got. But it's in my head. And I feel like I'm being personally victimized by TikTok. I also had some AEW spoilers today, which is not nice. Because it's an American show and it airs in like the wee hours of the night for us. So I have to go for a whole workday trying to avoid spoilers on Twitter. And every now and again, like today, I fail. It's bad times. I think I got like 3 in a row as well, which is not great. Alright, here we go. Nice highlighted bone. That spine looking good. Looking great. He's feeling his oats. Just going to do a similar thing on the neck as well. I don't want to put too much paint on this one because it's quite visible. There we go. I just looked it up on TikToks. Why did they make that into a song? Poor Chrissy says, Mojo. I don't know. I'm not sure what it was about that presumably distressing scene that warranted like a Schmo Yoho style remix. But here we are, you know? I'm afraid I'm as lost as you guys are. It's good to know, though, that people who I'm assuming watch Stranger Things are also confused about why this happens. So there you go. Just a little bit more on this part of the neck. Yeah, that's looking good. That is looking good. It's a nice looking spine right there. I might, I only went down this far, but actually the little spines do actually go a little bit lower than that. So I might work on this on the tail now, which is going to be a bit more fine detail. For that, I'm going to get a bit of a smaller brush. Who's watching Stranger Things at the moment, by the way? Like, because I felt like they didn't really know what to do after season 1, you know? So the fact that it's still going confuses me a little bit. And the, like, absurd length of all the episodes, you know? Ooh. Rakeshi says, just arrived and I'm in love with this live paint setup. Will's in mood lighting and with such a sexy maxi mini mid paint. Thank you. I've been trying to, like, it's really tricky to find the right camera angle for doing this. And I feel like just over the shoulder here, like the camera is literally right here. Right bit where my right hand is here. So it's as close to sort of over the shoulder as I can get it. But even then, I've got my hand in the way. So it's tricky to find like a good angle where you can see exactly what I'm up to. But hopefully this works for you. Okay. I'm just going to spin this tail right around so I can try and get as clean a paint as possible. I'm just going to do like each side rather than sort of scale by scale, because I feel like I'll have a better chance of getting it nice and clean by only painting on the side where my hand actually is. It might become a bit difficult to see what I'm doing at this point because this big wing is in the way. Chrissy, wake up. God damn it. I swear, like, TikTok was made specifically to bring down all of the people with ADHD in the world. We were too powerful for them. So they created a literal social media kryptonite. By making something that I literally can't stop myself from watching. And then also think about constantly during the day via the sounds that are stuck in my head. They've got an absolute stranglehold on me. Should be illegal, really, if you think about it. I'm being bullied by a multinational social media company. Me, personally. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. David Galan says, I fear that good Netflix shows will end up having 6 or 8 seasons in a forced way. Yeah, I also like, it's weird because Netflix seems to find all the shows that people really want to have multiple seasons and then cancel them. And then all the shows that like feel like they were fine, you know, and didn't really need carrying on with. And then drag them out for another 10 seasons. Like, I'm so glad that Haunting of Hill House, which is one of the best things that Netflix has put out. Just a nice, limited run, 10-episode series. Excellent storytelling. Didn't really have any complaints about any of it, to be honest. And then, you know, after a massive amount of success, you would think, oh, okay, time to do season 2, right? I'm glad they had the restraint to be like, no, we're going to do a different story because that one's done, you know? Like, we've already told the story of Hill House. Let's move on to Bly Manor and make a mess of that instead. Because I thought Bly Manor, after a strong start, was absolutely atrocious towards the end. And I'm so glad that that has nothing to do with that fantastic show that came before it, you know? There we go. Oh, this is where I get the hand cramp. Doing these tiny little scales. God Convoy says, like, what shows should have had more seasons? What shows should have had more seasons? I haven't actually watched it, but I know a lot of people talk about Firefly being cancelled too soon. What show did need more seasons? I'm trying to think of ones that I've watched that have been cancelled. Actually, don't remember. I feel like once I watch things, they're just sort of gone from my brain forever, you know? So we started rewatching Breaking Bad recently, and so he's watched that series about 4 times for some reason. And she'd be like, oh, it's this bit now, isn't it? And like, once I've seen it, I'll remember it. I'll be like, oh, that bit, that's what you're talking about. But she'll see it coming from like 4 miles off, and I'll be like, I don't remember what you're talking about. I do not remember the scene, you know, the scene with the box cutter or whatever. Like, what are you talking about? And then I'll see it, I'll be like, oh yeah, that bit. Yeah, no, God, I'm not talking specifically about Netflix now. I'm just talking about shows in general that were ended too soon. Although, to be honest, I feel like if I know... Because it's very rare that I watch a show as soon as it's come out. Like, I tend to watch them in my own time. Especially, like, knowing that a show is finished is great. Because it's like, oh yeah, I can just, you know, watch at my own pace and then I don't have to wait for anything. But if I know that a show famously ended too quickly, they never got to really tell their tale, then I probably won't watch it, you know? So that might be why I'm struggling to think of things. Okay, this tail looks a little bit more cohesive now. Just a little bit of variance between it and the rest of the scales as well, which is nice. It was just sort of a mess of orange. Heliax Angel says, I'd give my controversial hot take on the Netflix reboot of my favourite anime, but Crunchyroll is actually going to release the 2nd season after Netflix cancelled it. Really? They picked it up? Wasn't it like universally panned? I'm assuming you're talking about Bebop. Cowboy Bebop, another great example of a show that ended exactly when it needed to end, you know? I feel like it's the most difficult thing sometimes, just like saying goodbye to something. You know, whether it's as a viewer or as an artist. Just knowing when to be like, okay, I would love to keep watching these characters, these stories, whatever it is. But I have to admit that, you know, there is a perfect time to end this story and it's coming up, you know? I was very confused at the fact that Squid Game is getting a season 2, for example, which is coming out soon. Like, where do you go from there? Different characters? Like, what? You know, like, what's going on there? But then, apparently the creator had always planned for there to be multiple seasons, so... Or I might be thinking of something else, but... Pretty sure. They had said, oh no, this isn't a cash grab, like I already planned for there to be continuation of that story sort of thing, so we'll see. Because again, I think Squid Game is such a perfectly well told story in 1 season. Helix Angel says Saint Seiya / Knights of the Zodiac. The reboot has its own internal plot and made some changes that are very fandom devices, but I quite enjoyed the changes and I'm excited for the next story. Oh, okay. I have no idea what you're talking about then. How about we talk about some shows that desperately need to stop or should have stopped a long time ago? Like, I mean, obviously The Simpsons is the greatest example of that. Tom Cardant says, Wills, I think you and I are on the same wavelength. I'm glad. I'm glad my opinions are amenable to you. Okay. We're going to grab our Agrax. I think I've got about 4 of them now. So they come in like every little starter set. Right, and then with not too much on the brush, I'm just going to go over these spines here. Probably going to be a little thick to begin with, but I can go back and collect some of the paint on my brush. That's the ticket. There we go. A bit of depth to them just so they're not so flat. You go back over them, just picking up any sort of loose globs of paint with my brush. Making sure that it's nice and evenly coated. Yeah, nice. I'm wondering if I yeah, that looks good. Apart from just right on the corner of them, and then also just going to wash those little highlights that I made on the main spines. Just so they're not, again, don't do it just like flat paint. Then once that's dried, I'll go in with a even lighter white and do some edge highlighting just to make it pop even more. Yeah, The Office definitely dragged on for too long. I think the problem is there are good episodes after the departure of Michael. It's just not a good show anymore, if that makes sense. Like it lost all of its consistency, I think. There we go. There's that spine. Let's zoom that out a little bit. That tail's looking good. I think also, yeah, actually, once we've got the Agrax out, I think the back of the spike on the tail didn't actually ever get washed, so I'm just going to quickly go in on that. Just here. There we go. Again, just getting any excess off my brush. Go back in and collect some because we don't want it to be too thick. Nice. So I'm just spill over the side there. Tonkan Dance says, "Are you still playing Frostgrave?" I got into it because of the Dicebreaker vids. Yeah, no, we haven't played in a little while because we've had a few different sort of like people off work and all that kind of thing, making it a bit hard to organise stuff after work. But me and Maddie, you might have caught our stream where we were painting them up, have made some Stargrave stuff. So we're going to try out Stargrave, which, if you're not familiar with it, is the sci-fi sort of spin-off version from the same designer. So I've made those sort of Rainbow Rangers that I had on stream and I was basing up. I've used sort of Tau models from 40k. And then, because she is a legend, Maddie has made some sort of pastel-coloured My Little Pony style Space Marines, which look fantastic. So hopefully, once we've got that all sorted, we can do a little Let's Play of it as well, which can be good. So we can show you what it's like on the other side. Right, I've got some very, very vibrant pink here, which is called Warlock Purple, which is confusing, but it's quite clearly like a hot pink. And I'm going to grab like the smallest amount on my brush. Sort of thin it down a bit as well. And I just want to use this to pick out some of the edges on this scar. See, he's got like this sort of lightning scar on his neck. I want to just grab some of the edges of that. So I've put like a purple wash in there. But I just want to make it look a little bit more vibrant. So I'm not going to go into the recesses. I'm just going to grab the edges. And make it look a little bit more like a scar. Like a magical scar anyway. Anyone know the lore behind this dragon? I saw somebody else in the chat had, at the very least, had known the name. Now all we need is Imric and his glorious lance. Okay, what are we talking about? What's going on? Oh, the Lord of the Dragons from Total War Warhammer. There you go. Thank you, Fallow, for knowing more about Warhammer lore than me. And it used to be my job. There we go. So I'm just going to go on the edges of the scar and pick them out so they stand out a little bit more. There we go. I'm going to have to go upside down to get the other side of those. Yes, dragon big, says Paolo. It's when you're doing stuff like this that you realise just how shaky your hands actually are. Because you think, oh, I don't have very shaky hands. And then you try and get these tiny little lines. And you're like, oh, everyone has shaky hands. There we go. It'll be a little bit looser when it starts to sort of flower out a bit. Is that looking good? I think that looks good. Looking a bit more like a scar. I'm then going to do like an even smaller one with like a white, which should hopefully give that even more brilliance. Make it pop out even more. Tired needs sleep says, I like it when you stroke your massive dragon with paint. Thank you, Tired. I don't see what the problem is with that. Nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. God Convoy says, friendship is magic and magic is heresy. Christopher Steve says, yeah, his kingdom was destroyed and now he is going around Fondia, just absolutely wrecking anything he can. Excellent. As in this dragon's kingdom, or are we talking about the one that Paolo brought up? I keep forgetting his name. I know it's The Scarred, but the actual like random fantasy title that he's got. Krondys Dragon Kit, and this guy is called Karazai. Guys, his kingdom was destroyed. Who destroyed it? No wonder he's pissed. Bad boy dragon here. Karazai is actually best friends with Lord Croak. Is that real? Because Lord Croak's an absolute baller. There we go. Scar goes right up the neck. So I'm just trying to get there. Underneath this little bit of hair. There we go. There's a nice pink scar. That looks great on camera. That looks really cool on camera. Hope it looks that good in real life. It's really tough to tell because the sort of the light in here is obviously like a spotlight, right? So it's sort of casting its own shadows and stuff. It's difficult to see what it actually looks like. When you bring it out into daylight, you're like, oh, that doesn't look good. Thank you, Paolo. Karazai is actually best friend Lord Croak. It is. He immediately came to his aid when the Slan were being sieged by demons. Tired Need Sleep says, I'm always impressed with the skill that goes into painting models. I find I have shaky hands, so can never do anything that good. Honestly, my hands are shaky too. Like, my hands were shaking throughout all of that. It's just it's a case of just steadying yourself. Like, you'll see that my grip, like, if I just did it like this, I'd be like, ooh. But my grip is usually, you know, I'll grab the model quite firmly wherever it is I've got it. So in this case, I had it sort of like held underneath the belly here. Just sort of like nice firm grip on the model so it's not moving too much. I then got my elbow planted on the table, then my other elbow planted on the table, and then my hand is being like supported here by the base of the model, and I've also got my little finger on the model, and then I'm using that to just completely steady myself. So whilst it looks like I'm quite sort of free-handed, I've got loads of just sort of anchors for my arms to make sure I've got as much support as possible. Oh. Christopher Steves, it was actually Kragnos' return that motivated Karazai to join the Stormcast. Kragnos is another one which I would quite like to paint, to be honest. That'd be quite a fun one. I saw someone do like a really green theme for him, so it kind of looks like the Green Man, which is quite cool. Actually, let's pull this to the side a little bit. So I've got a bit of room for my stomach. Right, so now I've got like the bone white again. And I'm just picking out edges. Just like that. Does that look good? Who knows? Guess we'll find out. I'm not going to do all of the pink. Just sort of the main kind of current. Just to give it that extra little bit of detail. Because once you add all these little touches, it just makes things seem a little bit more intentional, if that makes sense. Just cleans it up a little bit. Yeah. Again, don't know how well that'll pick up on camera. But just that little bit of white just makes it look like I haven't just sort of stenciled it with pink, you know? Does Sigmar have Galmaraz in Age of Sigmar, or is it still with the corpse of Karl Franz? Yeah, see, like, I know a fair amount of lore when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Thanks to Total Warhammer. But when it comes to Age of Sigmar, I am completely clueless. Completely. I know some of the characters now that I've been painting them and stuff, but the actual lore, no clue. He did have it, but when he threw it during a war with Chaos and went through a portal, oh my god. Nightmare. Right, I'm going to grab some grey. Let's grab, yeah, uniform grey, that'll do. Just going to paint up the last few bits of hair on him. Total Warhammer is really fun. It's really, really fun. And I don't work there anymore, so you don't have to be concerned that I'm trying to sell it to you. Like, it is genuinely a really good game. I'm assuming it's quite cheap to buy 1 or 2 now, considering number 3's out. And I think 3 is also on Game Pass, so like, yeah, it's very easy to get into right now. Ooh. I'm just going to do these little bits of hair here. So the Warhammer is no longer in Warhammer, says God Conway. Yeah, I don't know if it's not in Warhammer. I think it's just sort of like lost, right? I'm assuming that's what they meant. Also, Total Warhammer has some absolutely hilarious little, unintentionally hilarious quotes from the NPCs and stuff. Like, when you're on the campaign map, if you do grab it, my recommendation is to find armies from all the different races that you don't control, and seeing what happens when you click on them, because the different ways they tell you to go F yourself is very funny. Including the human like Empire ones going, absolutely not, which is one of my favourite ones. Okay, another little bit down there. Oh, this one's going to be tricky to get. Right, you're definitely not going to be able to see this bit. To be honest, I'm not going to put too much effort in because nobody else will see it either, so it's fine. Just going to make sure it's great. Okay, that'll do. That'll do. Right, made that great. Yes, Immortal Empires. Yeah, so the wild thing about Total War Warhammer is the fact that like it's a trilogy, but not in the sense that like they all came out, you know, years apart from each other. Well, I guess they came a couple of years apart from each other, but they're all sort of like running on the same engine and everything. So with every game release, there is a free bit of DLC after an X amount of time, which obviously they make it in which they combine the maps from this game and the previous one. So now that all 3 are out, the latest one of those will be the final one where it's literally the entire world. So you can play like, because the pardon me, the original Warhammer map is based on our world. So you can literally play the entirety of planet Earth essentially, but fantasy version all at once, which is a bit ridiculous, but definitely fun. Right, I need some Nuln Oil just to wash the fur. like so. Just put some non-oil there. I'll do the back of this one as well because it doesn't look like it's got any on it. And maybe here as well. And the belly also apparently needs some. Apparently I didn't wash much of the hair. But that's fine, we can do it now. Thoughts, gang? Do we like a hairy massive dragon? Do you like a massive dragon to be hairy? Let me know in the comments. Paolo, did you know that I have done like official Warhammer Let's Plays as Luther Harkon on their YouTube channel in a pirate voice? Are you aware of that? Is that on your radar? Because I feel like it should be. Feels like something you'd enjoy. Fanny Lever says shaved makes it look better. Okay. You like a shaved dragon? Good to know. There you go, there's something for Paolo to look out for. Whilst he's doing that, I'm going to start painting this base. So we're going to grab the sand golem paint with the nice little ball bearings. See, I told you some of them have ball bearings in. And I'm going to grab my big flat base brush, my XL base brush from the Warhammer line. This big thick boy, dragon head size for comparison. I'm going to use that to spread that around. So pop some of that in the center of the palette. What about a traditional scaly dragon? But it is your choice, of course, says Tightening Sleep. Oh, look, he's scaly, that's for sure. It's whether or not he's got fur coming out the scales, that's what we're asking. So, just like with this one, I'm going to be spreading some of this. So this is a speed paint. If you missed our previous streams where we talked about these, they're based on the Warhammer contrast line. Essentially, it's like a few different shades of paint all mixed into one, into a sort of wash, and as you apply it to a white base, it kind of comes out with all of the contrast already done. And they're very good, especially for big blobs of rock like this. Great way of just getting them down quick. Actually, we need way more than that on the palette. Paolo says, how do you paint the nooks and crannies with shaky hands? It depends, really. Depends how nooky and cranny they are, you know? Like, if it is like a tiny little thing that's almost impossible, like eyes, for example, like painting a pupil on your model's eyes is nigh on impossible sometimes. A lot of the time it's just sort of a case of knowing how to not need to do those things, you know what I mean? Like knowing the tricks to get away with avoiding that stuff will actually give you a far better chance of getting a nice clean model without sort of dealing with your own shaky hands. Because like even if you do have shaky hands, it's still possible to deliver a nice clean finish, nice clean line, all that kind of stuff. It's just a case of why is this so soapy? This has come out really soapy. I don't know why. Is there still brush soap in my brush or something? It's like sudsy. Let's grab some clean kitchen roll, take some off. Plus, like, another thing is just knowing that, you know, if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. You can just go back over it. You can clean it up in your own time. Oh, God. Accidentally spread some speed paint all over the table. That one's a little bit less easy to tidy. But, you know. To err is human and all that. Hello, EO122. How you doing? It's just Wheels today. Painting this big old dragon. Currently painting the rocks underneath his feet. Yeah, I think sometimes when people are first getting into miniature painting and they're kind of like, you know, apprehensive about doing it, especially if they're like, oh, well, I don't have very good hands, you know. First of all, like, no one does when they first start out. Like, it's a thing that you learn. Like, your hands will get steadier. Or you'll just, you know, learn to work with the lack of steadiness in your hands. But also, you know, the fact that having shaky hands can lead to mistakes, I think a lot of people need to know how easy it is to fix mistakes on models sometimes. Like, if you paint over somewhere where you're not supposed to paint, just paint back over it with a different paint, you know? Like, it might take longer if you're making mistakes. Obviously, like, a clean paint job is already done. But oftentimes it's a case of, you know, going back over something once or twice, 3, 4 times. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. It takes time, it takes patience. Just a case of sticking with it. Never really tuned into a paint stream before. This is really nice and chill, says Tidy Sleep. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I will say that when either Maddie, Liv, or Mian are in, they're a bit less relaxing and chill, because they tend to bring out some truly bizarre conversation starters. So you can expect those to get a little bit more wild. But yeah, no, they are a nice chill thing to watch, nice and relaxing. I'm glad I can provide that service to you. Grab some of these little divots of paint. I don't know why it's come out so sudsy, but oh well. I think there are like something in my brush or something that's sort of mixing with the paint, maybe. Just get underneath that. Also, to be honest, I'm not too bothered about being too exact on the sort of bit of terrain underneath the model, you know, like that's not as big a deal. Time me on, by the way. Oh my god. Over half an hour gone already. Over an hour and a quarter gone already. Don't know where I got that half an hour from. Hyperactivity chill is still chill, says Tidy Sleep. We love a chill out, to be honest, says Roxy9. And Nathaniel Levy says they are chill in a hyperactive kind of way, yeah. Habib Prime says it turned to pitching rides for Disneyland and Christmas movies last time. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure how that one ended up getting where it went, but here we are, I guess. So I'm actually going to use this speed paint, and I'm going to go over the base itself. And I'm going to use it as an undercoat for the basic materials that we're going to be putting on this thing. I'm going to go for a sort of sandy, rocky kind of finish. Which is good, because that is exactly the basing stuff that I have. So I'm just going to spread this around. Again, I don't mind if this is kind of streaky because it's just sort of a bit more natural that way. But there's a lot of base to paint, so it's nice to have a speed paint to help us along the way, rather than having to do like multiple different washes of, or different coats rather of base paint. Just going to bring this around the corner. Underneath the tail. There we go. And as you start to actually paint this base, you know, as you get rid of those sort of last little bits of clear white on the model, it just starts to bring a level of sort of finished to it. Like, there's something about the transition from, you know, a really well painted model that's on a sort of splotchy base that hasn't been finished yet, to just something that is all around complete. It's really magical. I'm all about that base, no trouble. So there you go. You see that's like a nice sort of dirty sandy colour now. That's not really going to be showing through all that much, so we're not too worried about, you know, any streaky bits or anything that's sort of got a bit of black coming through or anything like that. It's just to make sure that if there's any gaps in the base that I'm doing, like if there's gaps in the stones and grass and stuff, that the what am I trying to say? The like gap doesn't show through and you see, like, you know, bright white. Like if you've got like an orange base and then you peek through and you see black plastic or white plastic, it's going to be a bit jarring. It's going to look a bit unfinished and rough. But just having like a flat colour underneath that matches the colour of the sort of base consistency that you're going for just makes it a lot more finished, which is all we want. Alright. Okay, I'll let that dry for a sec. Whilst it's doing that, I'm going to grab some new kitchen roll because that's gotten a bit sodden. We can put this brush away. Whilst it's drying, let's have a little look at where we're at. So, zoom this out a little bit so we can get a better look. So this is the current state of our dragon. Looking mighty handsome, if I do say so myself. So we're gonna just fill in those big gaps now on the base. So you see it's just a big flat disc at the moment, so we're gonna add some texture. I'm not sure how long it'll take to dry. Oh, not dry. Let me just rub that back in. There we go. But once it is, we'll add some glue. And we'll also get some of these going. So I've got, I kind of base with these for all of my minis. I've got like a scorched earth kind of like blackened grass. Sort of really dark kind of browny black grass, which I'll just get in the light so you can see the colour of. And then I've also got this medium red basing material, which should be perfect, really. Exactly the kind of texture we're after. And what's cool is, like, if you've got stones like this, like, you can paint them. So I have these kind of white stones that were just in like a sort of, you know, it's the kind of thing you put in a goldfish bowl or something, right? They're white, which means I can use like a wash or a speed paint and go over them and make, like, you know, purple magical stones or whatever I'm after that time. I'm going to be back in one sec. I'm just going to get some PVA glue because I left it out by my desk. I hope everyone's staying hydrated. leave you with the pretty dragon. I'll be back in 2 secs. Okay. Oh, right. So I'm going to lay down some tissue paper, because this tends to be quite a messy process. I want to have something that's nice and easy to clean up. So I'm just going to make like a little tablecloth of tissue paper here, just to make sure that not got grass and crap all over the table. It's looking to be a bit more dry now. Yeah, it's getting there. Is there anything that I'm missing on the model whilst we're waiting? I think he's looking pretty good, to be honest. Bring this back up. Nothing that I want to revisit just this second. Okay. Daniel Trigg says, sorry I'm late, how are we doing, Dice Painters? Can you fit some dead crawl boys on there? Not that I have with me, I'm afraid. I've got some unpainted crawl boys, but probably not ones that I want to rip off and turn into body parts. Oh, there is actually, I'm just going to grab a, whilst I'm waiting for it to dry anyway. There's a little spot here under the foot that I've missed, which I'll just paint now. Just there. That shouldn't affect our basing though, because we're not going to be putting any glue on this part. Everything all good on the rest of it? Oh no, there's a little bit here as well. It's right under the wing, where it's a bit tricky to get some of it. Just here, maybe you can spot it. A little white spot under the wing. Oh crap, and I've just accidentally painted the wing as well. There we go, that's better. Add a little bit more over here where it was a little bit light, because we were trying to get rid of that soapy texture we had, which was odd. But it's fine. It's all done now. There's a little bit of base there as well. Right, okay. So now, I'm going to assume this is dry. It's quite dry here. Yeah, that should be okay. Okay. We'll start on the bit where we know it's dry. Thank you, Healy. I'm going to grab some PVA glue. So this is just clear drying PVA glue. I got this from Hobbycraft. We're going to grab a crap brush that we don't care about. Like, oh, that should do actually. That's nice and flat. I don't use it ever. Oh crap! Ah. Oh god! I've broken the wall between my good and bad brushes. There we go. Right, crap brush we don't care about. This is just an old makeup brush that I've got, which isn't very useful. Well, actually, is it? Have we got a crapper one? We've got some super crappy ones, but they're not quite flat enough for what we're after. Flat shade. Yeah, you're quite hard. There we go. Let's use this one. We do not want to use a brush if we care about this because it's going to get absolutely covered in glue. So we're going to put down a nice healthy dollop PVA glue onto our base, like so. We're going to spread that nice and flat. And do it over on the side. This is actually going to take a little while, I think, because it's a lot of surface area on this base. There's a bit of a glob of paint here where it's sort of dried a bit, so I'm just going to get rid of that. We're just going to do it on this sort of side here, so I don't want to do it too much at once because I don't know where it hasn't dried yet, for example. So now that I've got the glue down, nice and flat, you can see where it's sort of shiny. We'll get our basing material. Start dumping it on. Let's get this camera down so you can see what I'm doing. And start pressing that down into the glue. And now some of this is not going to be attached properly. We don't want to worry about that. You can see this is a messy process. Let's get some in here as well. Like I said, we can paint these rocks as well, so if they're not quite the shade that we want, you can always come back and give them a lick of coat of paint. This is where some sand would be good as well for this kind of base. Just pushing it down. You can also go over the top of it. If you want like a sort of wet look, you know, like a sort of riverbed, something along those lines, you can just let glue dry on top of it to give it like a wet glossy finish. But let's get some more glue around this side of the tail. Sort of inside between the tail and the base. Start flattening that out as well. Don't be shy, plenty of glue. This is where it's a little bit tricky because your brush will start to pick up some of the rocks as you're moving around. But it's not the end of the world. Just get it nice and flat, just so there's no particular area where it's pooling too much. Some of that glue will pick up some of the paint, but again, not the end of the world. Well, that's more. Yeah, if you want to drop some of that off, Hewley, for me, that'd be great. Pop it in a parcel, send it over. I'm sure there's some kind of regulatory body that would stop you from doing that. So we have to like sign a thing to say that you don't have any like dirt or seeds or anything from different countries, so you don't accidentally like bring over some kind of plant plague that you're not aware of. Just gonna put a little bit more glue over here, just in that little gap where it's starting to dry here. Again, we'll just push that down, let that bubble out. We're gonna have some little tufts of grass. Let's open up another basing material pot. Grab a tuft of this grassy bit. And just lay that in there. Like a little a little bit of vegetation. And just flatten that down. It's going to dry and it's going to look quite thick, but once we're done, once we've put everything down, we can just sort of like give it a tap and a shake on its side and it will start falling out. Yeah, we played Soulbound on the channel, Christopher. Saying that you can do draconic characters in Soulbound now, which is Age of Sigmar role-playing. Which is cool. Is that like, are you like a half dragon or are you like a dragon? Because that seems OP, if I'm honest. Right, we'll come around to the other side now. I mean, look at all of that. It's taking up a lot of my stone. Might have to get a new pack of this stuff after this one. I'm just going to get one last big glob of paint, or glue rather, at the back here. Just spread that around. There we go. That's the ticket. Make sure there's plenty of it so it picks up all the stones. Any excess on the brush. And then once again, rinse and repeat, same process. Pressing it down into the glue. Stones all in my fingernails. This is a bit tricky to get them on, so I'm having to do it at the side a little bit. If there's any on the side of the base, you can just sort of pull those off because it's going to make it tricky to do that final black seal. There we go. So as that dries, those stones are going to get attached to the model. And you'll notice there's already bits of stone falling off, but that's kind of fine because all the bits that haven't glued down, we can just give it a shake and they'll just fall off onto our table or into our pot, whatever it is. God, pardon me, I've got hiccups. And then we can just use those in other models, which is always nice. Put more glue here on this little corner area. Get some more of this grassy bit going. These little patches of earth. Also, this PVA glue is bubbling a little bit, which obviously is not ideal. I'm going to do like a little bit around the edge of the sort of terrain on the model itself. Ooh, a little bit of glue went on the wing, which is not what we want. A little bit more grass over here. You can also get like a sort of sealing spray as well, which will just sort of keep it all together. Get one with like a matte finish so it doesn't look like it's shiny. Unless, again, that is the effect that you're trying to achieve, in which case go for it. I'm being a little bit more sporadic with the grass because I do want this to be like a sort of desert-y place. So it's just sort of little tufts sort of kind of grass in the Badlands. There we go. Look at that. Looking good. There's a bit of a gap here on the edge. I'll put a bit more grass on the end. These bubbles are very annoying. This isn't Iden F. Deepkin, folks. Hey? Am I right, lads? Am I right or am I right? Okay. Looking good. I might get a little bit more grass here at the back because it just looks a little bit more barren than the rest of it. It's difficult to get my big pot of glue in there, to be honest. Oh yeah, that's getting soupy. Paint, glue, and stones. What a lovely combo. You can also get like little bits of tuft that's sort of pre-made to come with like little joints at the bottom, so you can use them as like a little sort of shrubbery sort of poking out. And that's basing. We didn't do much of this in the stream where I was focusing on basing because we were doing like glitter, which wasn't very visible, to be honest, but I think this looks really cool. I might grab now, whilst this is drying, grab my other smaller brush here, and then grab like a darker speed paint, like a sort of grey, like for example, a hardened leather, that'll do, it'll have like a dark brown, and just go over some of these sort of like stony bits here. In the base terrains, kind of sort of cracks in the stone, like a darker brown, just to give it a bit more variation. But I'm going to try not to pick the model up because it's drying as we speak. So just these little bits of earth kind of sticking through. Just so it's not all just sort of one colour. Or one speed colour anyway. I know some amongst you will say, hey Wills, why didn't you do this before you glued loads of crap to the base? To which I reply, I didn't think about it. But it's fine. It looks good, doesn't it? That's all that matters. That's all that matters. Oh god, I've actually spilled quite a lot on the edge of this, so I'm just gonna make it look intentional. We love a sloppy king, right? Sloppy king on his big dragon. Make sure I don't accidentally vent. I don't think that's as much of an issue when you're painting, luckily. I could maybe accidentally turn the aircon really loud and sort of blow grass particles everywhere. Oh, crap. It's at the later stages when you're doing sort of detail work around stuff that you manage to just nick parts of your model. So just pay attention to where your brush is going. Like this big idiot isn't. This big idiot being me. There we Bits of stone falling off. Okay. Let's just add a little bit more depth to our sort of ruin at the feet of the dragon. Looking good. So now, I never really know how long to leave it, but we're going to give it a go now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the whole model, put it on its side, and we're just going to give it a light shake. And all those stones and bits of grass that haven't actually stuck to the model are just going to tumble off, revealing underneath all the stuff that has glued. So you know that despite all the bits that are falling off now, all the bits that aren't falling off are actually stuck to the model base. Which is good to know, you know? You can move those to the side and start using them again. If you want to build that up, build up some more layers, you can go back in with some more glue, add some more stones on top, and so on and so forth. So I might have a bit of a pile going on here, in between sort of tail and foot area. Oh, actually, I don't know why I'm opening up the pot, because we've got all this stuff on the floor. Look. So we can now grab all of this excess, all this runoff, and start adding that on top instead. And that just adds a little bit of sort of vertical height. Vertical height, does that make sense? You know what I mean? Adds a little bit of verticality to your base, so it's not all just sort of one level, you know? You can make like a sort of pile of them. Like that. Not sure if you can see that very well, but there you go. Nice. I can also, as I said, take some paint to those stones. So if we grab an Agrax wash, and pop some on my brush, and I want to have it, I think I want to have it quite thick, so I can just sort of almost drip it down onto it. So I want quite a lot of wash on my brush. I'm just going to apply that on top. And as that dries as well, that's just going to solidify those rocks a bit more as well, which is nice. But you'll see all the gaps where, you know, it hasn't really stuck to the base. That base is going to shine through, so we don't want it to be, you know, bright white, bright black, or dark black rather, where you can't really sort of explain the colour, if that makes sense. I want it all to look like it's part of the same thing. I can just make all these little sort of dollops of my Agrax to add some spots of colour. I don't really want to like brush stroke it. Just want to almost stipple. Just dab it on. It's like little spots of wet amongst the dry rock. And that's looking pretty good. Add some to our little rock pile that we just made. Be careful when it's still drying though, because it will get sort of stuck to your brush as it moves around. This is like Bob Ross but with models, says Elaine. No such thing as mistakes, only happy little accidents. Especially with the basing part. Basing part, you can just go wild. You really can. But I think that's looking pretty good. Looking smooth and intentional and all the buzzwords. If there's any bits where it's a bit thin, like it is a little bit thin over here, we can just add some more glue in. Grab some more of our runoff and whack it on top. Just pressing it in again. And you can actually use, doesn't really make sense in this context because we've got like a sort of desert going on, but you can use that kind of glossy PVA finish. If you just get like a nice big thick glob of it, it's going to dry kind of looking like running water. You can add a tiny bit of paint to it as well for some colour. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good, but I say so myself. Once that's properly dried as well, once those stones aren't moving at all, as you can see they'll fall off at this moment. Once that's properly dried, we can just go over with a big wash, you know, get a big brush and start adding wash all over it to give some proper colour. But for now, I think that looks pretty great, and I'm happy with it. Let's get some magical stones going, because we've got a little bit more time left over. So let's find some of these. So like I said, these white stones, I just found them in like a, you know, kind of, whatever it was, I think it was for like flower arrangement, maybe something like that. I can just grab a coloured wash. I like to use Druky Violet for this, because I think they look really nice. Just grab a coloured wash, get a standard brush, and wash all over with that colour. And you'll see, and it's a bit difficult to hold them, you'll see as I bring my wash across, just colours them into this kind of magical looking colour. Just very like faint and ghostly, which I find it works really well as like a sort of gemstone kind of thing, like a discarded runestone or whatever. Mojo Jojo's enjoying the face in the thumbnail. Just gawping at the sheer size of this lad. You know? I think it's one of the biggest things I've painted on stream, to be honest. Usually when I do these big models, I do them at home. Like I did a lot of the in-between stages of this one at home. Sat on the couch. And I will probably take them home and still make a few little adjustments, you know. There's probably a few bits that I won't notice in the studio, but will be very glaringly obvious in the cold light of day. Just going to let those dry. Hope everyone's enjoyed the stream today. It's rare that you get to see me do the sort of like last bits of a model. Usually it's a lot of base coating. I prefer painting at home, I think, Tired Need Sleep, because I get like a... I tend to rush when I'm in the office because I want to show people all the different, you know, stages of the process and stuff. So I end up having like quite a lot of, you know, bits that I've rushed through, and when I'm at home, I'm just kind of doing it because I want to do it rather than for anyone watching or anything like that. So I just sort of take my time with it and just paint how I want to paint, if that makes sense. It's great to take it home for the more sort of like bits that would seem quite boring on camera, like layering loads of different little paints that you could never really pick up. But all these little finishing touches and stuff are quite nice to show off on camera. Like that pink sort of lightning scar on the neck, for example. Looks really nice now. And then, whilst we've got the camera right, here's that base material. Looking pretty cool. Looking pretty good. Let's see how dry these are. To be honest, I've only done half. So I need to flip them. I'm probably just going to have purple paint on my fingers. I'm just going to have to get over that, I think. Ugh. They are very hard to hold when you're painting them, though. The only downside of these little rock things. There's all sorts of stuff you can buy to put on your bases, though. Like, Games Workshop themselves, for example, sell like packs of like skulls and things. If you want to do like a, you know, sea of skulls that is lying on or whatever, you can get vines, things like that. And nice and flexy, which is fun. Loads of bits and bobs. The basing's quite a fun part of it, to be honest, because it's quite like, you can be a little bit more messy and a little bit more dirty, and it looks just as good because obviously it's, you know, it's a natural thing, so it's kind of meant to look like that anyway. So it's quite freeing, and it's a nice, like, it's like wrapping a bow on something that you've been working on for ages. And I will say this dragon's been quite a quick process because thanks to those speed paints at the start, doing that huge blob of orange and beige for the top and underside. So this one's been a bit of a breeze, to be honest. But I think it's looking really good. So we'll just find some little spots to put our gemstones. I'm going to pop one here. Ooh. This is where I need my tweezers. Should have brought them in. Pop one just here on the edge. Bit of a gap here. You guys see what I'm doing here? Pop you there. Maybe another one just inside of that tail. Be liberal with the glue because you want it to dry in a nice big block, really. There we go, that's looking good. Another one here. I tend not to bother putting them at the back because no one's going to look at them if they're all the way back there. And there we go. So you can see those little sort of gemstones. They just add like a nice little pop of colour. I think it looks great. So that's probably all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I'm going to take this guy off of the mountain of tissue paper so you can get a proper good look at him. I feel like it's making it a little bit difficult to see. But then after that, I think we are done. So, let me just clean up all this mess. Put the basing stuff away. Put this brush away. There we go. grab all of this runoff excess. So you know what, I'm going to put my crappy brush in with my basic material so I know the difference between it and the others. And then get rid of all these bits of fur. It's like, you know, like straight after you shave, and there's just all these tiny bits of hair lying around. I need to hoover in here now. There we are though. Let's get a nice shot of this guy. Right up a little bit. And there he is. There is our dragon. Looking great. M. Horler says, damn, I caught you right at the end. Looks incredible. Thanks, M. You can come see it in person if you're in the office. Oh, but that is all she wrote for today. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. This has been just me, just old Willsy, doing a bit of painting, finishing off our dragon. And I think he's looking really good. I love the little pops of colour from the purple stones, actually. They look really nice. Another thing I can also do is I can put like little purple highlights on bits of the stone so it looks like they're glowing a little bit. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm going to take him home, see if there's anything that I missed in the studio lights that looks a little bit easier to see in the daylight. But thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed me painting this from the Age of Sigmar line. I will see you tomorrow for the podcast, but if you are new to the channel, please do hit subscribe, click the bell icon to get notified whenever we put a new video live. You can also hit the join icon if you haven't already and become one of our channel members. IO Netrunner, who just posted, for example, you see that little dice by their name, means they get exclusive benefits like brand new videos every month that only they get to see. They get emojis that they can use in the chat, and also they get that little badge by their name, all kinds of stuff like that. Sometimes we do live streams where you guys can interact with us and all that kind of stuff. So we're playing things like Jackbox, you can join in, which is very, very fun. So have a little look at that if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go end the stream. It's just on me on my own, so I'm going to go click the button. But thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely day. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.